Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Tgizzle, and welcome to this basic how-to guide for Discord. In today's guide, I'm going to be covering all the essentials you need to know for Discord. Also, thanks to MercyFR for suggesting the video. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, it's an all-in-one voice and text chat for gamers. It's just a VoIP, but it's completely free and has a lot of unique features which makes it stand out compared to things like Skype, TeamSpeak, Mumble, and others. It's also getting a lot of traction with a variety of online communities, especially Twitch, due to its strong community-focused designs. It's also available on Mac, PC, iOS, and Android, and will be coming to Linux very soon. So now that you know more about Discord, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing you want to decide is if you're going to download it to Windows or just start using it in your browser. I recommend just downloading it right away. Save yourself the trouble of doing that later. So it's on your desktop, ready to go. But if you want to just try it out and get started with using it in your browser, it works the same way. And all you have to do for that is click right here, select your username, hit the green arrow. But if you do it this way, you're not actually going to be fully making your account, and you will have to do that later on. So for those of you downloading it, go ahead and just fully register your account, open up the app, and I'm going to do the same right now. And here's the Discord app as you see it. No servers, no friends, just blank. This is how it should look for you if you're just starting. So the first thing I want to show you is the user settings. So go to the bottom left where it says your name, go over to user settings, the little gear right here. The first tab it's going to show you is the account tab, where you can make your username, email, password, and you can change your own icon. Below that is the connections tab, where you can connect your Twitch, YouTube Gaming, Battle.net, Skype, League, and Steam accounts to your Discord. And I'm assuming other types of services will be available in the future. If you connect one of these four over here, you're going to be able to add friends from these services on Discord. And if you connect YouTube Gaming or Twitch, you're going to be able to integrate streaming features with Discord. Below that is your Friends tab, where you can change your friends' preferences, your text and image preferences, your voice settings, your notifications tab, your keyboard bindings, or your keyboard, of course, the appearance tab, so you can customize Discord to look how you want, your game-specific overlay tab, the overlay general tab, the language tab, streamer mode, which allows you to protect your privacy while streaming or recording videos, and the two-factor authentication. So before we go making our own server or adding anybody, let's show you what it's like to join a server. So I've picked out a Twitch streamer and his public Discord server as an example. I'm going to pull up my browser right now, and let's go over to Mr. Dan's Gaming's channel. Now, Dan's Gaming has a public Discord server, Nerd Fusion, which is available to his entire community for them to interact with the streamers and each other. Keep in mind, I don't really know much about Nerd Fusion or Dan's Gaming, but I will put a link to his Twitch channel in the description, since he basically is letting me use his server for the video, even though he doesn't know it. So whenever you go to a Twitch channel and you want to join their Discord server, and you know they have one, you're going to find a link to it in the information below their stream. Either a clickable link that's in the text or just a button that is clickable. The button's not clickable. You'll look around, you'll see it. It has the word Discord in the link, unless they have shortened the link. If not, you can just click the button right here. And let's go ahead and do that. So what happened just there is when I clicked that link, it tried opening up Discord in my browser, but it noticed that Discord was open on my desktop, so it opened up the desktop application instead. So if you try doing this and you're not signed in on your desktop, it's just going to take you straight to the browser version of it. And you can, of course, sign into the desktop version and you'll be into the server. Keep in mind, though, if you want to join servers this way, it might be a little finicky depending on if you are signed into Discord in both your browser and the desktop application. So make sure to do both before you try clicking any links. There are other ways to join servers, which I'm going to show you once we make our own. So let's hit Join Nerd Fusion. And now you're in your first Discord server. And right away, I'm going to show you each different section of it. Up here is the name of the server and some settings as a member of the server. Text channels, voice channels, the actual text area itself, and the user section. Up here is some tabs used for each room. Here we have the notification tab, which allows you to mute each individual text channel in case you don't want to get notified of certain ones. Also, there's the pin tab, which shows pin messages for each room. So if I go to a different room, there are different pins. Right here allows you to hide the members list. And this is recent mentions. So if you want to be able to manage who's trying to communicate with you across all the servers you're a part of, this allows you to see who is trying to basically tag and talk to you by hitting @ in your username, just like Twitter. And this is very helpful once you join a bunch of servers and you get a whole bunch of them on the left right here. It's hard to manage who you're all trying to talk to. This makes it a little easier. So let's go over back to the usernames. So each of these little groups right here are just different roles for different users in the server. So these guys are the streamers for this group. They're under nerds. This guy's a super moderator, more like an admin. Discord moderator are people people who are designated to moderate the Discord specifically. And these are the Twitch chat mods. Basically, these people were mods in the Twitch chats of these people's streams and now have been given a role in the Discord. And then everybody else is their own unique everyone role. But it looks like some people have their own role, and I'm guessing the blue people are subscribers on Twitch. That's why they're all blue like that. That'd be my guess, but I can't really tell without going to the server settings or asking. And of course, with all the voice rooms as well, there are some rooms I cannot join because some of them have different permissions or rules, and I am a fresh person in the server who is not a subscriber or anything, so of course I wouldn't be able to join everything. And that's essentially what every Discord server you're going to join looks like. Of course, they have different voice and text rooms and different rules, but the layout is the same. You'll find everything in the same spots with just different names. So now that you've seen what a fully fleshed out Discord server looks like, why don't we join our own? So create our own rather. I'm actually going to go over here to the left and click this plus sign. And before we create our own, I want to show you another way to join a server. Click right here, join a server. You just basically copy a link someone sends you and paste it in right here, and now actually give you the invite to join versus having to click it and open up in your browser. So let's go to create a server and pick a name. I'm going to go with test server. I spelled that wrong, excuse me, server. And this is server region. Essentially, you just pick the region closest to you. I'm going to go with US East, but if for some reason those servers are acting funny for you, you can always select a different one temporarily until they start working out for you. Now let's hit create. And now we're in our own Discord server. And right away, it gives us a general text room and general voice room, which I'm in right now. So let's go over the voice controls really fast. We have mute to mute your mic, deafen to mute everybody else and your mic, the information tab to see your connection to the room you're in, and the disconnect button to leave the room. So I know what you're thinking. Well, there's something in my server. I want it to look all fancy like Nerd Fusion. So let's start working on that. And the best way to do that is, of course, creating some text and voice rooms for different reasons, different purposes. And of course, your reasons and purposes will be different than mine, but that's why it's your Discord server. I'm just going to give you some ideas here of how you can structure it. And before we start doing that, let's start thinking of some different roles we want for our server, because it's hard to actually organize text and voice rooms with different permissions if we do not have roles set up that are intended for those positions. So let's go up to test server up here and go to server settings. Now, before I show you the actual role setup, I'm going to actually go over all the other settings first. So I'm going to ignore AFK channel for now. Let's go down to verification level. So right here we have low, which means they have to have a verified email. Medium means they have to be registered on Discord for 5 minutes, and table flip, which is 10 minutes. Essentially, this prevents spam accounts from joining your server if you have an open server. I generally recommend medium, by the way. For the server notifications, I always recommend setting it to only at mentions. This is very important for large servers, so that way the users of your server are not notified for every little thing that happens in the server, only when someone is trying to get their attention. Instant invites is how you can manage all the invites to your server, but that only matters once you've created some, which we will do probably last. Integrations, you can connect your Twitch and YouTube gaming not only to your account, but directly to the server itself. We have members where you can manage members, give them roles, but we haven't made any yet. The roles tab, which we'll get back to in just one moment. The bans, where you can manage people you have banned from your server. The emoji, which is basically the emote section, allows you to upload your own custom emotes / emojis for your channel. And widget and webhooks we're going to skip for today and go over in separate videos. And then we have security, which basically, just like for user settings, it's just enabling two-factor authentication. So let's go back up to roles. So like I mentioned just a second ago, if we want to create text channels in voice rooms, it's best to have some roles set up in mind for those rooms so that way we know who they're for. So I'm going to go with a very basic kind of setup. I'm going to create an admin role, a mod role, and then a generic role for a group of people in the server. So let's start with mod, or for moderator. I'm going to select a color green, so that way people who are mod have a green name, and I'm going to hit display roles separately so people know who the mods are. And let's manage their permissions. I want my mods to be able to, let's look, kick members, sure. Manage emojis, why not? They can change nickname, fine. And the rest of this I'm going to leave for the admins and for myself. And manage messages. That would be important. And let's create a new role now. So we have mod set up, so let's create one more powerful. I'm going to create admin, short for administrator. I'm going to display separately and select a different color than the previous one. Let's go with a red. And instead of individually selecting the permissions, I'm actually going to give it administrator, but let's read what that is. Members with this permission have every permission and also bypass channel-specific permissions. This is very dangerous. Essentially, only give this role to people you really trust with your server that basically have full control of it like you. If not, you can put yourself in a very dangerous situation by letting someone you don't know very well have this, because they can kind of do what they want with your server. But I plan on giving this role to, let's say, a really close friend of mine who wants to run the server with me, and I want to be able to manage things while I'm away. So I'm actually going to just click this, which pretty much makes every other button here kind of not important after I do that. And the last role I'm going to create is just a generic role to identify a group of people in the server. Let's say some buddies of mine. And I'm going to call this role friends and give it the color purple. I'm also going to display this role separately. I don't have to display separately for every role if I don't want the role to be super important. But if I want to organize my friends or anybody in the server and see who's who, it's nice to actually have the display role for each very important role. And I'm not going to change their permissions because it's just a role to help organize. Now, before I hit done, let's also talk about the order of the roles. Depending on the order they're in from top to bottom, essentially just organizes their importance in the server and their priority, and also organizes how they'll show up on the left here. So on the left, or excuse me, the right here. So over here on the right, it's going to be admin, mod, then friends, going from top to bottom. So let's see how that looks. I'm going to hit done. So since I don't have anybody else in the server, I'm just going to use myself as the example. And let's click plus. And right there, you'll see I'm able to give tutorials here his own role. So let's start with friends. So what happened there is I gave tutorials friends. It was put in his own friends category and the text changed to purple. Now how about mod? Same thing happened. Name change for the role and for the color. And for admin, same thing happens. And the reason why it happened that way is because you can give a single user as many roles as you like, but depending on the order in your roles menu, it's going to basically change the priority and change the person's main role. So if I get rid of mod, he stays admin, but if I get rid of admin, he goes to friends. So now that we have a couple roles set up in the server, let's create some text and voice channels that correspond with those. Let's start with a room for my admins and my mods. I'm going to call this the staff room, so just staff. And I want my mods and admins to access it. Now let's hit create. And then now let's actually edit some of the settings for the room, which exists here. Hit edit channel. So let's go over to the overview first. And let's set the topic. The topic is basically the tagline for the room so people know what it's about. A room for the admins and mods. Hit done. And now you can see the message that I just wrote next to the name so people have an idea of what it's for. Let's go back to edit channel and go now to permissions. Now this is essentially how you set up the room specific to the roles. So let's say I want only the admins and mods to read it. I make sure that they both have the ability to read. And by the way, when the permission is slashed like that, it essentially implies that you don't want to change or not change it. So it's just kind of like by default. So let's take, for example, I have read messages here checked. I don't really need to check send messages unless I want to block read and then check send. So really, to make this a little simple, to make this a little more simple, just only check the ones that you really need to check yes on. The checking no is less important unless you really have to make sure that other permissions don't cancel that, if that makes sense. The permissions can kind of overpower each other unless you make sure you're checking yes for some and no for others. But if you're only going to do one or two, you can leave them just checked yes and not have to worry about the others. So I want the admins and mods to read messages, and they'll be able to do the rest of this unless I specifically say no. And everyone can't read messages because it's a room just for the mods and admins. And if they can't read messages, then they can't do anything else, so I don't really need to change the other permissions. So this room is good to go. Now let's create a room for the friends. I'm going to call this room Friends. Click Friends, hit Create. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back to Overview, a room for the buddies, I'm going to call it. And then go down to permissions. So everyone can't read it, but the friends can, which implies that if everyone can't read the messages, they can't do anything else. So I don't need to bother Xing all these out. So this is now good too. So now I have a general room for everybody to talk in, a room for the admins and mods, and a room for just my friends. So why don't we create some voice rooms that also follow the same kind of pattern? I'll go with a staff voice room for just the mods and admins, and also one for the friends, for just my friends. Let's go to edit channel. It works the same way as the text channel. You have certain permissions. Let's double check, make sure the permissions are how I want them. These look good. Now, instead of adding taglines, we have the bit rate to worry about. So the bit rate for each voice room is essentially how much connection the person requires to connect to the room to sound good. If that makes sense. Essentially, it's just how good their connection has to be in that room. And the higher it is, the harder it is for people to join. Discord defaults to 64 for most rooms. And for the most part, you don't really need to increase this unless you really want each room to sound amazing. But most people really won't notice. And also, Discord already has a lot of compression, and I usually don't notice the difference most of the time. So you can leave this as default, but if you do care about your audio a lot, you can, of course, increase it. But keep in mind, people may have more trouble connecting to the room that way. Also, there's a user limit for each voice room. I don't really just leave this alone, but if you really need a user limit for some reason, you can just change it with the slider right here. And there you go. Now you have text rooms set up for different people and voice rooms that I'm connecting to right now for different people. I'm going to disconnect, of course. And for the time being, I'm also just going to go and give myself admin. Now, really quick, let's also go over pins. So if I was to write a message here in the staff, for example, hey, there's my message. But I want everybody who's a staff member that can read this text to see that I wrote this. So I'm going to hover over this. A little gear is going to show up for my message. I'm going to click on the gear and hit pin. Also, by the way, you can edit and delete your messages right here as well if you wrote the message yourself. I'm going to hit pin. Make sure I want to pin it. Oh yeah, pin it. So now if I click on the staff room, there's a pin right there with the message, hey. And that's really cool if you want to like have a message from a while ago show up in case people miss it. So if one of these rooms are really busy and a lot of people type in it, they might miss an important message. But if you have it pinned, they won't miss it unless they decide not to click on that. And lastly, let's go over how to invite people to your server. So you got the room set up all the ways you kind of want. You got all your roles ready. You got your rooms ready. And you want to get some people in here and play some games together and talk and have a good time. Go up to the top, go to test server or whatever your server name is. Click that arrow and go to invite people. Now, by default, Discord is going to generate a link for 30 minutes. So that way, once you send it to someone, they have 30 minutes to click the link. And after that, the link will no longer give them an invite to join the server. But if you want to do it longer, click this little button right here, and it's going to make the link an infinite link. So whenever they click that, no matter when the time is, they will be able to join the server. So let's hit this gear right here. We can also extend this. So if you don't want it to be forever, but longer than 30 minutes, you can customize the time right here. And you can also create a max number of users that are able to click this link before it disappears. And you also can, right here, grant them temporary membership. So until you give them a specific role, like let's say the friends role, they'll be unable to do anything and be kicked otherwise. So what I'm going to do, set this link to never expire, hit copy, Now that's copied to my clipboard, and I can just copy paste that to my friend. And I didn't really go over this yet, so let's go up to direct messages. So once you have some connections set up like to Skype and stuff, you'll start getting friend suggestions to join other people's servers and to also join or add friends rather. And once you have friends added, you can see all your messages right here, and you can also send them the invite to join your server through there. But if you have someone that's in your server who's not your friend, you can just click on their name and there'll be an option to add friend. I can't do that with tutorials here because I am tutorials in this video. And that should be it, guys. That is everything you need to know for Discord. By now, at the end of the video, you should know how to create your own server, how to join servers, and how to manage and set up your room/server the way you like it. Now, this is one of the longest videos I've done, and it may be a little rambly and a little hard to understand at some points, but I hope I cleared things up for you, and I hope, especially for Mercy FR out there, that this helps you since you're the one who asked for this. Now, if anybody else, of course, stumbled across this video and this helps you, please be so gracious as to leave a thumbs up on the video if it did help you. But if it didn't help you, please leave a thumbs down and leave some feedback below on what I could have done better or what I should explain more. Keep in mind, I also have another video on Discord about how to actually add a bot to your server. So once you have a room all set up the way you like it, you can actually add some bots, which are fake users that have really cool, unique abilities that you can trigger in your server. And I'm actually going to have something on screen right now where you can click to go see that video and get some bots in your server. And there'll also be a link in the description for that as well. So that'll be all from me, guys. I have been Tgizzle, and this has been my basic how-to guide for Discord. I'm signing off, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time.